Hi everybody, Emma Murphy, disordered eating specialist, psychotherapist and emotional eating and binge eating disorder specialist here. And today I'm talking about the triggers for emotional eating or binge eating. And one of the triggers that we hear about a lot is being bored. Now, we all eat when we're bored. That's a very common thing, that we go and graze in the kitchen because there's nothing else to do. But a lot of times when clients are talking about being bored, they actually mean that there's something else completely going on. And there's three main reasons why people use the word bored when that's not actually what's happening. Now, the first is that we find, some clients struggle with naming their feelings. They don't really have words for feelings. And we would use something like a feelings wheel with somebody. So that's something that you can Google and look up. So to develop that vocabulary of, are you actually bored or are you lonely? Are you feeling isolated? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling disappointed? Are you feeling frustrated? So, again, if you don't have those words for how you're feeling, bored could be the catch-all word that you're using for that. So that's the first thing, is that maybe it's just not having the words to describe how you're really feeling. The second reason why people might use the word bored then is because, of course, they're trying to numb out or avoid feeling something else. So, for example, anger is a very common emotion for our clients to try and avoid. They don't like anger, they don't do conflict. Sometimes this is associated with their past, where maybe it wasn't safe to get angry, it wasn't safe to express their feelings, or they were in a home maybe that there was a lot of anger or chaos or unpredictability or, even violence. And so they go to the opposite end of the spectrum and they're like, well, I don't do anger at all. I never do anger. I never get angry. I just don't have anything to do with anger. So if something's happening in their life that's causing them to feel angry, they'll immediately sort of, try and distance themselves from that or distract themselves from it. And boredom may be the feeling of actually numbing out or dissociating from what they are actually feeling, because they're not going to allow that emotion to come up to the surface. There's another reason why people might also numb themselves out from that feeling is it's not necessarily because they don't do anger, but it's actually that it could be very difficult for them to deal with the situation that's causing them to feel angry. So we find that some clients can struggle with assertiveness and being able to have good boundaries and to say no, or to speak up and say it's not okay for you to speak to me like that, or it's not okay for you to treat me like that. So that's another reason why you might distance out or numb yourself out or dissociate from a feeling like anger, and you might call that boredom. The third reason then is, again, kind of associated with trauma, but, people who know that they went through a traumatic experience and, went through a very difficult, prolonged period of difficulty in their lives where it was very stressful, it was very difficult. And this is when your brain might kind of be on like the PTSD spectrum. You've got a bit of post-traumatic stress going on because of that experience in the past. And really what that means is your brain is stuck in fight or flight, and it's constantly vigilant and, what's going on? Where's the danger? Where's the next danger? Where's the next danger? I always do my ninja movements when I talk about that. And really always on high alert. And what this is actually you've got cortisol constantly going through your system. The cortisol is coming through your system to keep you alert so that you don't get caught out by any danger. But then when there's no stress and no cortisol, you actually can feel a bit uneasy about that. It's like, no, this isn't normal. I shouldn't feel like this. Or you feel bored, or you may even think, that there's a sense of meaninglessness. So it's kind of like you need to feel the stress or the cortisol through your body in order to sort of feel alive or engaged. So one of the things that, one of the signals that this might be, or one of the signs that you might experience that would tell you that this is the issue, is when you really struggle with something like meditation or mindfulness. Very common for clients not to be able to do meditation or not want to kind of do mindfulness in the early days, because, I hear clients saying, I'd rather crawl out of my skin than listen to a meditation. And, I can't stand sitting still. And like the last thing I want is for my mind to be empty. So, that's always a little sign to me that there's something going on around the stress and the cortisol. And actually what happens in that situation is your adrenal glands above your kidneys kind of get addicted to the cortisol, and they kind of need the cortisol. So on a subconscious level, your brain is kind of always trying to create this cortisol cascade because your adrenals are kind of demanding it. But what that means is, and another signal that you might see in your life around that, is that you procrastinate for a long time and then leave everything to the last minute. So you're constantly up against a deadline because, of course, then you're going to be stressed and the cortisol is going to be running. Or that you're actually consciously or unconsciously creating a lot of drama in your life. Because again, drama usually means a bit of excitement, a bit of cortisol, a bit of stress. So they are signals that might be what's going on more deeply. This card from the card deck, the 4 energies of emotional eating, goes into that in a little bit more detail. So there are the 3 reasons why you might be using the word bored when boredom isn't really what's actually going on for you. Hope you found it helpful, and please let me know if boredom is one of your triggers for emotional eating. Take care for now. Bye.